Welcome, everybody, to QB Power Hour. Today is November 15th, and today's episode is What's New with QuickBooks Online and the QuickBooks Online ecosystem. This is the QuickBooks Connect, the QB Connect edition. So we'll talk briefly about QB Power Hour sponsors, CPE process, and then we'll get right with the main content. We're going to have a guest speaker from Intuit talk to us a little bit about the marketing resources that they have released for accounting professionals. So if you're an accounting professional, that would be useful for you. And then we'll talk a little bit about the new features and the new advanced SKU or QuickBooks Online. And then I'll also talk about my favorite session or one of my favorite sessions at QB Connect. About QB Power Hour, we are a webinar series, usually twice a month or every other Thursday. The next episode will be in 2 weeks after Thanksgiving. Will be November 29th. We don't have a topic set up for that episode yet, but 2 weeks later, we'll probably be doing QuickBooks Enterprise Mobile Warehousing. That's my goal to cover that. But in 2 weeks, we'll have our next episode. We don't have a specific topic. We'll see. We typically cover 50% QuickBooks Online, 50% QuickBooks Desktop. From time to time, we'll have a guest speaker talk about third-party apps, practice management, and industry-related news. In today's episode, will be it will be sort of a combination of those things. Okay, about Michelle. Michelle is the co-host. She's not with us in this episode today. She'll probably be with us in 2 weeks. She is the co-host of QB Power Hour, the co-host of the Accounting Beacon, and the host of the LinkedIn group Successful QuickBooks Consultants, which has over 160,000 members. Check that out, and also check out her books in Amazon. About myself, I live and work in the Miami area. I'm a CPA. I work with QuickBooks Desktop and QuickBooks Online. There's my email. There's my Twitter handle. If you want to contact me for any reason. About the CPA process, we are about 2 weeks behind on, 2 episodes behind on CPE certificates. So you will see in the next week or so the rest of the CPE certificates that haven't been emailed. We usually take 2 to 3 weeks. In this case, we're 4 weeks behind to send the CPE certificates. You must be logged in for at least 50 minutes and answer 3 out of the 4 polling questions in order to be eligible to get your CPE certificate. If you watch this in YouTube recording afterwards, it will not be eligible, only eligible when you watch them live via GoToWebinar. So we'd like to thank our sponsor, Avalara, for sponsoring the webinar series for the rest of the year. Check them out. They're the most popular app service to manage multi-state sales tax compliance, avalara.com. All right, so let me jump right in and bring an Intuit employee that offered to come in and demo something for us, and she's kind of in a hurry. So she can't be the whole hour, so I'm going to bring her in first. I'm making her presenter. Her name is Gina. And Gina, I'm making you presenter. You can, I'm going to unmute you as well, and you can go ahead and take it away.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone, and thank you so much, Hector, for having me on your show today. I'm really excited to be here and tell everyone about the new marketing hub that we just launched recently at QBC. First, a little bit about myself. My name is Gina Karlstrom, and I work here at Intuit in the accountant segment marketing team. And I've been at Intuit for a little over a year. And my project has been to develop and launch a new marketing hub with resources for accounting professionals like you to help find new clients. So I'll share a little bit of background about the why and the how. So we heard from accounting professionals, our valued partners, that you want to grow your business and find new clients, but there's a struggle because marketing your firm can be a challenge sometimes. So we've decided to help accountants grow. We've created this marketing hub to empower you to do several things. The first is to grow your expertise to effectively market to any prospects. And how to find them and onboard the new clients. And once you have them onboarded, how to continue to stay connected and improve the client communications and your firm's brand efficiently. And I'm going to walk through a demo of the marketing hub in several minutes. Okay, so some of the main benefits of this new marketing hub is First, it's a centralized marketing resource. So you have all the templates and guides and articles that you would need in one place to learn about marketing. It offers strategic guidance as well as tools and templates that you can use. So both for learning and using. There's a private section with premium content available for QBOA users. So you'll need your QBOA login to access some of these templates and resources. There's also a public section that all visitors can come and browse the content, and I'll walk you through that. There are 4 content categories. We've set it up to design to support along each stage of the marketing journey. So from starting out and setting the marketing strategy or refreshing it, trying to optimize it, etc., to the actual tactics to get leads. So those are the different channels you would use. And then onboarding clients. Once you've agreed, to take them on as a client, the onboarding process to QBO. And then finally, how to stay connected, just top of mind throughout the year. Okay, now I'm going to take you to the website to demo this, and it's there's a bit.ly link we have. It's called intuit.me/hub. You can also find it by going onto the QuickBooks Accountant web pages, but there's several steps there, so we created this shorter link for easier access. Okay. So here's the hub. And as you can see in the top, it's the part of the Intuit QuickBooks for Accountants web pages. And so this navigation up top might look familiar to you. Once you get here, you can go to Resources and then go to the Intuit Marketing Hub. And here is where all the content lives. As you can see, the way we've set it up is there's an all content category. That's where everything will be displayed if you want to just look through everything. If you are interested in going by specific stage of the marketing journey, if you have a very specific purpose, you can click on these sub-navigation tabs, and that will get you to the content specifically for, say, setting your strategy, getting leads, onboarding clients, and staying connected. Another thing to note is there's a filter drop-down menu on the right here. And this is for if you want to look specifically by the resource type. So say you're interested in browsing and reading some articles or downloading some guides, they're in PDF form, looking through a few checklists, or you want to find the email templates to use. That's how you would filter. Quick note about these email templates. Actually, let me sign in first to show you, because one of these things, most of these templates have locked icons on them, you'll note, and that's signaling that this is premium content for QBOA users. And to unlock it, you would need to sign in. Let me just do a quick sign in here. Let me go back to the PowerPoint. So here you can just see the slide. Basically, once you log in, you're able to, these locked icons on the, let me make my screen bigger. The locked blue icons on the right will become unlocked icons, signaling that you can open them and access them. And from there, you can browse and download a lot of these templates, such as the engagement letters for QuickBooks services or an end-of-year checklist that's, for example, an email that's already created along with an image that you can just drop into your Outlook or your Gmail and send it to your clients just to give them an end-of-year reminder and stay in touch with them and help them prepare for tax season. And this is the last slide. It's just to learn more, you can go to the hub, bit.ly that I've shared. And just to note that we are continuing to add content steadily throughout the year. So, please come back if you don't see what you want. Just a quick note that we are planning to include some videos and sales materials as our next step around the early beginning of next year. But we are also planning future content. So would love to hear any feedback you might have on content that you feel would help you with growing your business and finding new clients. And you can either input that in the chat here in this webinar, or you can email me directly at gina_Karlstrom@intuit.com. And I would really appreciate and value your input. I'm going to pause here to see if there's any questions that you would like answered.
So I'll probably go back and make a video about it as I discover the resources. This stuff was just released, so I haven't even had a chance to review it. Now in the slides, you're going to see two links to two YouTube videos where I made recaps of QBConnect. I went ahead and interviewed some people and kind of just made some summaries of the sessions and the conversations I had with folks. So check out the YouTube videos after the webinar that I have in there. So check them out, enjoy them, add some comments, tell me what you think. All right, so a couple of things worth mentioning at QBConnect for the folks that haven't attended. And just let me just run a quick polling question. Let me run the first of the three following polling questions. Let me just get an idea for how many of you actually attended QBConnect and how many of you don't even know what that is. Because it was kind of a big deal in the QuickBooks world, and they made a couple of really big, outstanding announcements. And I like to mention some, the ones that can be mentioned in a public matter anyway. One of the major announcements that were made, it's something that's Intuit has been cooking up for some time, which is a sort of built-in lending system inside of QuickBooks Online to really simplify the process of helping small business owners get capital. And they're going to start offering some of the QuickBooks users access to capital, and they're going to have just like very simple interface where it will tell you what the rate is, what the APR is, how much would the total fees be, and then it'll run a credit check. And within, they're promising as fast as 2 days, but of course there's some underwriting, but within 2 days, some of these small business customers will get funding directly from Intuit with QuickBooks Capital. Now, they didn't talk about what the banking is, like who's the bank and who's the lender, but from the customer's perspective, it'll all say QuickBooks Capital, it will all look like QuickBooks Capital. So just be aware of that. This is going to be a lot more. It's going to be a lot more common as you encounter QuickBooks users getting capital from QuickBooks Capital, and it will automatically reconcile, probably the best part for accountants, it will automatically reconcile the interest expense, the principal, all that stuff will come in automatically and match with your bank as it comes in. So just like in the payment side, they're gonna make it easy to reconcile. Now, will it be less expensive than a standard bank? Probably not. A standard bank, it's probably going to be the most competitive. But if a small business owner has access to a sub 8% APR loan through a bank, they're going to go through the bank. This is more for the smaller loans and the companies that are not big enough or haven't been in business enough to be bankable through a regular bank. So they're not there trying to compete with regular banks. They're trying to compete with the traditional small business lenders that are much higher interest rate than the banks. So something to keep in mind, just for you to know. Now, probably the biggest announcement that they've been having since the summer is the announcement of the new QuickBooks Online Advanced SKU. And there's a lot of confusion around this, so I'd like to dispel a couple of the myths and the misunderstandings about this. So before the QuickBooks Online Advanced SKU, which is a fourth option to the three QuickBooks Online offerings, the highest and most expensive and most feature-rich QuickBooks Online edition was QuickBooks Online Plus. Now, QuickBooks Online Plus comes with the ability to do inventory, budgets, class and locations, 1099s, and up to 5 users. That was the big feature of QuickBooks Online Plus. Most folks went to QuickBooks Online Plus. The monthly fee for that is $60 a month. Now, with the new advanced SKU, it's going to be just like the Plus. The price is going to be $150 a month. But on top of what the Plus features includes, it's also going to bump up the number of users to up to 25. So it's going to maximize the number of QuickBooks Online users that's there. It will have a built-in Fathom reporting app. So something that you go out and pay, I think it's about $50 or $60 a month separately for the Fathom reporting app. That's going to be built in or included with the subscription. They also have, and I believe this is just me speculating, I believe this is a bridge until Intuit gets really strong built-in custom reports into the QuickBooks Online system. But for now, Fathom is a great app for reports. They have a built-in invoice importing tool that allows you to bring in invoices from a spreadsheet and push them straight into QuickBooks. Only invoices for now. Hopefully, at some point, there will be sales receipts, bills, checks, credit card transactions, all of that stuff. But for now, you will be able to import invoices through Excel spreadsheets. And the new custom reporting tool that allows you to, sorry, custom users that allows you to a bit more granular user permission structure. It's not as strong as QuickBooks Enterprise, but that is going to be better than the current Plus offering. Now, the two areas where there's the most amount of confusion, and I can speak to it only from my perspective. I don't work for QuickBooks or Intuit, so I can't give you insight information on this, but they're going to have premium tech support where they're going to have a smaller group of tech support people managing these accounts. So the wait time to get to a support person will be shorter, and the probabilities of talking to the same person if you call twice in 1 month will be much higher. And this is something that QBO users, not accountants, but QBO users, that's the feedback that they've been giving into it, and Intuit is responding to user feedback. They also partner with a sort of national training company. I believe it was Real World Training, and they have some self-paced videos to learn how to use QuickBooks Online, and that's something that people normally would go out and pay four or $500. I think is how much they charge for those videos. They're including access to those videos with that subscription. So what Intuit is doing here is essentially figuring out if there is a marketplace for $150 a month instead of $60 a month, and include a couple of extra features with it. Now, in my personal opinion, are these features enough to make it go up to 150? As an advanced user and as an accounting professional, I personally don't think so, but there may be some end users that do. So this wasn't necessarily designed for accounting professionals to be loving this queue right off the bat. But I think that over time, if they do add more features, that will happen. So a couple of other things important to mention. The advanced queue is not yet available under the wholesale model. So I don't see a way for accountants to pay half of the price of this to give it to their clients. And I also don't see a free account for accountants for this queue yet. So I would like to see those two things happening sooner rather than later. So we do have Intuit folks in this webinar watching and listening. So they're getting my direct feedback as it stands. And right now, if you wanted to look at it and play with it, you actually have to sign up for the account, which is what I've done. I'm having issues getting it to load, but we'll see if I have time to open it up and show you some of those features. Okay, the new user permission structure is actually really, really neat. Probably one of my favorite highlights about it is you can actually create a user where you give access to banks or not, which is actually really important. To add or remove bank deposits. You can choose whether they can see specific types of reports, sales reports, or expense reports. So you can also limit access to the type of reports that they have. So I actually like the new permission structure. It's very easy to read. It's not as detailed as I like, but it does have more stuff than the other one. So let's see if I can get to it. Let me see. So I think, okay, here it is. So this is I have an account for the new advanced queue, and it looks just like the way QuickBooks Online normally looks like, but I have another user here. So I created a limited user. So what you're seeing here, let me close this for a second. So what you're seeing here right now, what you're seeing on the screen is a limited user that doesn't have access to certain features. So you can see how things are grayed out. You see that? So I didn't give this user access to customers or employees. So they only have access to the vendor side. And if I go to reports, I can, you also have limitations. See, notice this user can see a profit and loss, can see a balance sheet. They can see sales related reports, but they can't see expense related reports. So let me show you what that looks like. So I'm back in the admin user, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new user. I'm going to click on manage users, and waiting for this to load. Now, QuickBooks Online today is just really, really slow. And also, yeah, there is a limitation for payroll. I just don't have payroll turned on in here. So there is a check mark that allows or disallows access to payroll. So that is part of the advanced user permissions. Let me see. Don't know why QuickBooks Online is acting up so much today. Uh, I'm going to log out real quick, log back in. Okay. For the time being, let me see if there's any questions. I think there's more comments than questions. So somebody's asking, when will it be when will you be able to access this to the wholesale program? I don't. They didn't mention that, so I'm not prepared to answer that. So I don't know if the advanced queue will be available through the wholesale program anytime soon. So I hope they do bring it, but I don't know. I don't have an answer. I don't have a clear answer for that. Okay, let me go back to manage users, see if we can get that window to pop up. Oh, there it is. So we can create a custom user. Let me show you. I can create a custom user right there where it says add user. I can create a custom user, and I can click where it says custom user instead of standard or company admin, and then click on next. And then here, this is what it looks like. This is where I can add and select the features they have access to. So let's say I only want this person to have access to sales reports and sales transactions, and exclude them from expense transactions and expense reports, and exclude them from banking. Okay. So so when I click on next, then this was already there. Can they access administrative features? I'll add the user here. Okay. So just create a fake user here for a second. And then I'll open up that second user that I have. And this is essentially what you see. You see a limitation of access. So I'll go ahead and close that. And that's sort of small improvements to the user permission structure. Now, the other couple of things is under reports, you will have access to this thing called Smart Reporting, which will basically load up a Fathom account. So the minute you click on Smart Reporting and you click on Activate, it will take you straight to the Fathom subscription process. You're going to be adding the app. You're not going to be paying extra for the app. The app is included with the subscription. So you simply just connect it to Fathom, and then you will have access to Fathom. So all they did, somehow they figured out how to get Fathom to set up an account immediately for connected to QuickBooks Online, and not go through the standard process, for you to put your credit card and that sort of thing. So let me go ahead and so I'm doing these in real time, so you get to see exactly the process that that your customers will go through. And I'm going to go ahead and verify the account, so you can see that. And for the people that haven't used Fathom, I mean, it's really a really neat app. I think visually it's probably the most attractive of all the third-party reporting applications that connect to QuickBooks. Let me go ahead and finish the connection. Add the new company. Just creating the company here real quick. Well, no financial data. It's a brand new company. That's fine. So I'll just show you real quick what Fathom looks like. And I don't want to make this into a Fathom demo, but it is just really important to know how much more powerful Fathom is than QuickBooks Online at standard reports. So a couple really cool things is the first page, it gives you the KPI Explorer, which will give you just high level information such as revenue, gross margin. It tells you trends based on targets, so you can set up those targets. And you also get a few real visual reports like cash flow reports, kind of letting you know where your income's coming, where your income's going, and just very visual ways to look at financial statements. We probably will do a whole demonstration on Fathom, a more structured demonstration, but this is going to be probably the biggest selling point to our customers, is the fact that the new advanced queue comes with this. Although you can go and purchase this by yourself. I mean, you can add Fathom to any QuickBooks Online account, but it's the the price of Fathom and QuickBooks put together, it's almost going to be close to the $150 a month. So I think this was a good partnership, a good way to add value, and just I think adding Fathom, which they're calling smart reporting, they're trying to make it as seamless as possible. I think that was a strong move by Intuit, because it honestly those additional features by themselves were not as valuable. But I think just adding Fathom by itself will in fact be valuable. Now, I haven't tested the new invoice importing tool, but I'll show you. We'll kind of just do this on the fly. So when you go into the gear menu and click on import data, you're accustomed to seeing the first five that is here: bank data, customers, vendors, uh, products and services, chart of accounts. Now you have this new invoice button. So when you click on invoice, it would give you the import guide, which is actually really good to have. And I'm going to show you an example so you see what that looks like. Let's open up that example page. Okay, there you go. So let me zoom this in. So you can download the template, and then you can, whatever you're getting the invoice data from, you can import any of these fields, like customer name, invoice date, due date, terms, location, if they have locations turned on, memo, this is the memo of the invoice, the actual item description, quantity, rate, total amount, and service date. So these are all the fields that can be imported. Okay. And if you have multiple line items per invoice, you just have to make sure that you use the same exact invoice number in the invoice number column. This is probably one of the most important ones of all of them. So let me delete this stuff here at the bottom, and I'm going to save this in the desktop somewhere and show you how the import process works. So let me save this into my desktop. Okay, so let's say you have a spreadsheet that looks like this. Then you come in and you click on Browse, select your spreadsheet. Again, we'll probably dedicate a whole episode to this once get a lot more familiar with it. There's a couple of really good options here. So you can click on Add New Contact that don't really exist in QuickBooks. Basically, that means don't give me an error if the customer doesn't exist. And also Add New Products, which also means don't give me an error if the item doesn't exist. So it goes ahead and imports that as well. So then we click on Next. Then you do your mapping, right? You can see through this mapping here, you can see all the fields that can be imported. Okay, so these are all the fields that can be imported. Then you click on Next. Okay, if there's an issue with the date format or whatever, it will actually tell you. Let me make sure. I'm going to disable service date. I'm going to disable terms. I'll get item in there. Item's fine. Item amount. I think this should be good. So hit Next. All right, so my format is, let's see. Let me look at my spreadsheet again. Okay, so the spreadsheet is using the European version of the dating. So that's obviously an issue. It's using day first and month after. So let me switch it over here. And the reason for that is because this, and this is interesting, this import tool was really born in the UK version. And I guess when they ported it over, they didn't change that in the sample data. So for the folks that are into it, that are listening and watching, just make sure that the sample one has the correct dating structure. Okay, so that imported that. So I'll show you what that looks like. I'll open up an invoice. And that's exactly as it came in. So I got to tell you, I think this is very, very powerful stuff. If Intuit could give me access to all the transactions and let me import any kind of data, that would definitely be very, very valuable. Now, some people ask, why would you import invoices? Well, sometimes the invoices are being created from a point of sale system, or they're being created from a like a shopping cart. Sometimes invoices are created in some other system, and they exist in Excel. So for the time being, you cannot import payments, you cannot import credit memos, you cannot import bills. So stop asking. You can only import invoices, but they're probably going to test this and see how well it works, and then hopefully give us access to all of the other transactions to be able to import. So I would definitely be looking forward to that. Okay, so let's switch gears completely, and I'm going to tell you about my favorite session at QB Connect. Okay, my favorite session was Ron Baker's session, titled something like "The Link Between Self-Esteem and Value Pricing," or "Self-Esteem and Pricing Your Services." And in one of the slides, he provided what he calls the ultimate tool for transformation into your business model. And he says that all transformation starts with language, and you can innovate just by changing the words that you use. You can innovate in terms of how customers perceive you. You can innovate internally in terms of how your team, perceives what you do. And this is a couple of really cool life hacks or tricks, and I'm going to go through all of them because I love these, and I'm also going to paraphrase some of the reasoning that he gave us behind changing these words. So the first one was changing the word training to education. So stop using the word training and start using education. In general, if you think about it, what is more valuable to you? What is more valuable to you? Training or education? What feels to have a more sort of long-term balance? Okay. Sorry, long-term value versus short-term value. Training typically has short-term value. Education has long-term value. So just the power of using the word education versus training. If that's what you sell education to your clients. He seems to believe that's more powerful, and that's a challenge I have because I'm in the quote training business. So I strongly believe that training it's a valuable thing, but for me to change from training to education is tough. But he has this awesome joke, and he tells it every time, and I laugh at it every time, although I've heard it 10 times. But he says, this is the reason, folks, you want to change your language from training to education, is because if you have a 12-year-old daughter, do you want her to go to sex education or sex training? And I just thought that was so funny. I just thought that was just hilarious. He says this joke every single time, probably repeats it on every one of his saying, and I just think it's hilarious. Anyway, so the next one is the word fee, billing, rate, contract. They're all words associated with negative things. He likes the word price because price it uh, has no context of negative or positive. Price is sort of a fact, where a fee could be something that you get charged for because you made a mistake, or a rate is something associated with an hourly or some sort of quantity measurement. So obviously, Ron Baker is really into value pricing. So rate is a very negative word in his world, and also contract. Okay, contract is also an important thing because a lot of times we call our services the service contract, the accounting contract, whatever it happens to be. Contracts for a lot of folks feel like something that holds you back, something that has repercussions if you cancel. A contract has you locked in. A contract forces you to behave a certain way. If somebody cancels their contract, they're gonna get a fee or a penalty, or they're gonna get lawyers involved, that sort of thing. So that's why he likes to use the word agreement, because agreement it feels more like a partnership than a contract. Contract is a little bit contentious. So I actually agree with him on that, and I'm changing a lot of the language in even the documents that I give to my clients to price to agreement instead of contract. The other one that I like is the word discount. For some reason, discount the word discount has a permanent psyche on the customer, whereas if you teach somebody that you give discounts, they'll always ask for a discount. So if you are going to give a price to get started, right, you're going to give a price to maybe alleviate the cost of switching accountants, then use the word preferred price or promotional price or incentive price, something that emotes the fact that this is temporary, the fact that this is having to do with bringing the customer in. The minute you use the word discount, customers will always use discount. Now, the most controversial of them all is client versus customer. So Ron Baker and his co-host in his podcast Ed Class strongly believe that you should call your customers and not clients. And this is tough because most CPAs and professionals associate the word client with a relationship, and they associate the word customer with a transaction, and that's true. That's how I perceive it anyway. I believe you transact with customers, you have a relationship with clients. That's how I think, or how I used to think. Now, the argument that Ron makes, and I think it's brilliant, is that when you have a client, you take that business for granted. And it happens to all professionals. We have a client, we take the business for granted. That means that because it's an epidemic in our profession where there's not a lot of switching, right? People go with an accountant or with a lawyer and they stick with that person. Even if that person mistreats them, they still stick with that person because customers don't like to switch, because it's such a headache to switch. You have to send all the documents, explain everything. But the word customer, which means transactional, you're associated more with retail. And in retail, customers don't have loyalty, which means that you have to win them over on every single transaction. So making this switch in your head, whereas every transaction, every interaction with your customer is an opportunity to win them over again, and every single interaction, it's an opportunity for you to do something that makes the customer want to come back to you. It makes a switch in your head and make you more customer centric focused. Because for most of us, because they're clients, we take them for granted. Now, I think for some folks, they would disagree with that. And again, okay, don't shoot the messenger. But I do like the premise behind it quite a bit. I would love to know your opinion on that. I already have a couple comments saying that they would never call their clients customers, and that's fine. If you don't see it that way, that's totally okay. But it's all about changing your mindset to be customer focused, not client focused. And when you're customer focused, you're winning them over on every single transaction. So I thought that was really interesting. And what customers like to be referred to, that's interesting. Customers, I think, will prefer to be called as clients. So you can call a client when you're in front of them, you can call them a client, but internally in your company, you can call them customers. That's also kind of an interesting thing, a comment that I have here from Sharon. Okay, so let's switch over. Option and choice, and this was new for me. I've never heard him say this before, and I think this is very interesting. See, we've been formally trained that we're supposed to give our customers options, and we say these are your options for services, right? But if you use the word choice, people own their choices, and somebody else presents options. So when I say these are your options, I'm the one presenting your options. So they're choosing from something I gave them to choose. But when I say, choose your service, or which of these services is the best choice for you, people tend to own their choices. And I just thought that was very interesting. I've just never heard it like that before. So I think that in the case of choice, I thought that was pretty interesting. Okay. Let's now. The other thing is services. So a lot of times we call what we do a service, and I think that makes sense. I don't see any issues with that. But what he's also saying is to take the word service out of your vocabulary, and where you're describing what you're doing, is you are providing transformation, you are providing outcomes, you're protecting or creating somebody's legacy. So that's a tough one for me. I mean, Ron Baker has his own way of looking at things, and he does make me think quite a bit. So this is the most impactful slide that I had out of the whole conference, and I'm taking some, and I'm adopting some, and some I'm not. But I think it's just an interesting way of looking at things. Okay. Then we have staff versus team. And I just think, I just find that funny. He says that staff sounds like an infection. So just never call your team members staff, because it's a bit, it just puts them down and doesn't put them at the same level as everybody else. And in a knowledge economy, in a knowledge-based business, every team member can be as valuable as the boss. And it's just simple. Just use team members instead of staff. Okay. That way also you don't create the hierarchy, and you don't force the client to think about who's the boss of who, who's on top of what. If you call everybody team, then for the client, it should be transparent who they talk to within your organization. So if you say talk to my staff, then they automatically think that that person doesn't have the authority to make decisions, and they're always going to go back to you or the boss, whoever that happens to be, for the ultimate decision. So when everybody's a team member, folks tend to just has just sort of simpler teamwork. Now, efficiency and effectiveness. I've heard this already before. I'm sure a lot of you have heard this before. Efficiency, it's a really negative word in my opinion. I have changed my mind about this. So when I started my business and everything that I was doing in terms of importing data and just keyboard shortcuts, everything that I was doing to work faster was all to be more efficient. And that's in a lot of times when we have conversations with our team members or customers or whatever, we're using the word it's more efficient to do this, it's more efficient to do that, and we throw the word efficiency so many times, and most of the times we don't mean anything negative by it. But the problem is efficiency. It's about getting output, right? It's about spending less time to get more output, which is fine generally speaking. But the problem is that efficiency doesn't speak to what the purpose of your job is. It doesn't speak to why you do what you do, and it doesn't speak to what matters to your customer. The word effectiveness requires that you know how to measure effectiveness, which is not a numerical or mathematical equation. Effectiveness typically is a happy customer. Effectiveness is a satisfied customer. Effectiveness is giving your customer a peace of mind. Effectiveness means building loyalty. So when we do things in order to be effective, we can be inefficient and be effective at the same time. He uses this word called efficaciousness, which is just kind of a big word that means being efficient at being effective. So that's pretty interesting too. That just means maximize effectiveness while being efficient, type of thing. But it's just when you get 200 transactions entered into QuickBooks in 30 minutes, and you call that efficiency, but then you go back and realize you entered in the wrong account, then you were not efficient anymore. You were extremely ineffective because you wasted time and you did it wrong. So it's just a matter of just flipping a switch in your head where before you do anything, before you ask anyone to do anything, before you do something in the attempt to do it faster or quote unquote better, just take a step back and say, what are we trying to achieve? Is this helping me be effective with my customers? Is this helping me be effective with my purpose, with my mission in life and in business? So it's a bit philosophical, but I just think it's just really interesting. And then the last one is time capacity versus emotional capacity. So I find this one to be really, really interesting. Really, really interesting. So most of us think in time capacity, right? We have 40 hours, 50 hours a week that we can work. When we plan a job or when we plan a new customer that we're bringing in, we're trying to calculate everything in terms of time, right? Will I have time to finish this week? Will I have time to complete these 3 customers next week? Do I have time, or do we have capacity on all the time of my team members to complete all the 30 projects we have outstanding? But then it's about thinking about it, the emotional capacity component. And I know that sounds a little bit strange, but the way he did this, I think it was just so genius the way he put it together. And think about, have you ever had a customer that you talked to at 9 a.m. in the morning, right? First thing in the morning, you talk to them for 30 minutes, and after that conversation, you're done for the day. You're just done, right? You can't get anything done after that conversation. The emotional drain that customer, or the stress that they bring in that one conversation for 30 minutes or an hour in the morning, pretty much shut down your day because you can't do anything else. The idea is to think of projects or customers as not only folks that are going to occupy our time in terms of time capacity, but they're going to occupy a big piece of emotional capacity. And there's only so many customers that we can take that are a big emotional drain. So otherwise, we get a nervous breakdown. So I just thought that was just a very interesting one slide that you can deep dive in. So let me show you where you can download all the slides for QuickBooks Connect. And there's a wealth of information here. So if you didn't attend, I definitely recommend that you check this out. You go to QuickBooksConnect.com, okay, and you go to Agenda 2018, and in any of the 3 days, you just click whatever day it is. You look for your session. So, for example, if you look at Ron Baker's session, which I believe was this one right here, Knowing Your Worth, and you click right there where it says See PowerPoint Presentation, you can download every single session. All the PowerPoints are available to the public. And I don't know, last year, the 2017s are not available. So I suspect that they'll take this down. So I strongly recommend that you go in there, jump in there, and download all those PowerPoints in there. There's tons of information. There's probably about 85 of them. I downloaded them all. It took me like 3 hours. Downloaded them all. It's 85 total presentations. Tons of useful information in there. I'll see you again after Thanksgiving on November 29th. So happy Thanksgiving, everyone. And then we'll be back in every other week schedule. The only other thing I'll ask you to do is to, if you're on Facebook, go to facebook.com/Art of Advisory. We're getting back live on our advisory type of conversations with my friend Kirk Bowman. So check out my live feed and podcast there. And thank you again, Avalara, for sponsoring QB Power Hour through 2018. And I'll see you on Facebook to continue the conversation. Have a wonderful day, guys.